My name is Jim Beebe. It's spelled B-E-E-B-E. I am a former Scientologist. I'm a former staff member with the Cult Awareness Network. I'm a professional musician. I have my own jazz group and work around the Chicago area primarily.
Okay, and Jim, what is Scientology, in your opinion?
Scientology, in my opinion, is a number of things. First of all, Scientology, from my experience, my personal experience as a member, is a very slick mind control system which is posing as a religion to get out of paying taxes. It is also it's a quack psychotherapy. It is a UFO cult, and it's a world domination scheme. And it is a Nazi cult in disguise. It is all these things rolled up into one.
Well, how did you get involved with the organization?
I got involved with Scientology back in the 60s. I was in Washington, D.C. with a well-known jazz group, the Dukes of Dixieland. I was befriended by a musician, a jazz musician in Washington, D.C., whose name was Louis Bellucci. And Louis started sending all sorts of Dianetics literature to my hotel, and I called him up and I said, "What is this?" And he very kindly said, "Well, I'll come over and tell you about it." But Louis he befriended me, showed me around Washington, D.C. All the while he's plugging away about Dianetics. He didn't mention Scientology very much. Well, it was mainly known as Dianetics then. And so he urged me when I returned to Chicago to go to a Scientology center that was here in Chicago. Excuse me. And I did. I went up to this little center, and I had heard of the name Dianetics in the back of my mind somewhere. As it turned out, the Dianetics book had been a bestseller in the 50s, and I suppose that's where I heard of it, although in the 50s I was in college and in the service.
What year was this, by the way?
In Washington, D.C.?
Well, when you first started getting involved?
Well, it was I'm not sure the exact year. It was in the 60s somewhere.
Early 60s, late 60s?
It was mid-60s.
Okay. Mid
to later 60s. That era is kind of hazy to me.
Okay.
Okay.
And what was your first impression?
Scientology?
Yes.
Well, Scientology, by and large, then was a mom-and-pop operation. It was fairly benign. It was not the nasty Nazi-type cult that it is today. Most of the Scientology centers were small centers around the country that were run by husband and wife combinations, that sort of thing. And they offered some of the lower-level Scientology courses and stuff. It still had not become the greedy organization that we know today. And as I say, it was still fairly benign. So, and there was an exciting group dynamic there, and this is what is attractive to a lot of people. For guys, there's girls, and vice versa. Okay.
Well, what does that mean? You walk in, and there are attractive young women who are paying attention to you and all excited about you being there.
Well, right, exactly. Oh yeah, they're very attentive to you, and there's a kind of an excitement, sort of a forward movement to it. You see, and the lectures are all very upbeat and about L. Ron Hubbard, this great person who has made these tremendous discoveries about the human mind and so on and so forth. So, and this is attractive to most people. Take this course and you'll become a smarter person. You'll become more aware. In this course, you'll handle all your problems, you see. Well, this is attractive to people. And so I took the first course, which is called, and to this day is still the first course, called the communication course. And it was a simple, inexpensive little course with some basic good ideas about communication.
Do you remember how much it cost at the time?
At that time, I think it was, I don't know, it was $25 or $50, something like that. And there were, as I say, there were some decent ideas about communication, and this was attractive. However, on the very first course, the trap is set. on the very first communication course, L. Ron Hubbard, what he was, I'll divert a little bit here. What L. Ron Hubbard was really good at was hypnosis and mind control methods. And on the very first communication course, Hubbard introduces a very clever set of hypnotic drills. These are called TRs, or for training routines. And these drills are flat-out hypnotic drills, but all the while, Hubbard and the Scientologists are telling you they are not hypnotic. You're not being hypnotized. But these drills are done with two people sitting staring at each other for minutes, half hour, hours at a time. And they're done with variations on these drills. And they are, you don't realize it until much later that they are flat-out hypnosis. These hypnotic drills, the TRs, extend right into their counseling, which is called auditing, okay? At one point, we had to do what's called TR0. We had to do a 2-hour no-blink drill. In other words, sitting staring at another person for 2 hours without blinking.
Okay, and what happens if you blink?
You start over.
So, okay.
Yeah.
And what if you can't do it? You just have to sit there all night?
Well, yeah, or you do it another time.
Okay.
Sooner or later you have to do it.
And was this a large group of people? You had 40, 50 people in a room and they all just paired off and did this to each other?
Yes, you walk into any Scientology center and you will see people paired off sitting there staring at each other, because these hypnotic drills are from that point on, they are on every course. They are done every day on every course. And when you combine this constant hypnosis with a constant barrage of L. Ron Hubbard's psychobabble, L. Ron Hubbard was a very prolific psychobabbler. It never ends. I mean, there's tons of courses, tapes, books. It's nonstop. There are no other thoughts in Scientology. Everything's L. Ron Hubbard. So when you combine this constant hypnosis, which starts on the first course, with its constant psychobabble, it does not take very long to brainwash almost anyone into L. Ron Hubbard's mindset. And little by little, you're seduced right into the mindset. It happened to me. It's happened to countless other numbers of other people.
Well, other than the group dynamic, what did this organization represent to you? What were you looking for? What answers did you think that they had, or were you just curious?
Well, I, like everyone else, was looking for some answers to problems in my life, to getting on better, and along with it, the broader questions of life in general, life and death, and those sorts of things. And they were presenting, L. Ron Hubbard was presenting himself as having the answers to all of this, to everything. If I can say this, when you first get into Scientology, as I said, everything is L. Ron Hubbard. When you first get into Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard presents himself as a guy just from out in left field, but who made all these remarkable discoveries about the mind. And never mind Freud, psychology, psychiatry, anything else, Hubbard has come up with the answers. And all these answers are available right here with his courses. When you get further into Scientology, Hubbard reveals that, well, guess what? He also made startling and remarkable discoveries about your spiritual nature. Okay? He has found the answers to life and living. And then when you get way, way into deep, dark Scientology, it's become very sinister Scientology, really, Hubbard reveals that he is Source. He has uncovered a deep, dark, sinister extraterrestrial plot that has enslaved mankind for eons. And that only he, L. Ron Hubbard, has worked out the technology to free you from this cosmic enslavement. Okay, this is secret Scientology. This is later on, after you've really been into it.
Okay, that sounds kind of outlandish. I mean, what was the nature of this extraterrestrial?
Well, we'll go into that a little later.
Okay.
Let's stick with the beginning Scientology.
Okay.
Yeah. And what I found in Scientology I met a lot of nice people in Scientology. Most of the people who get in Scientology tend to be on the young side, although there are all ages in there. They're smart and they're intelligent and idealistic, and as this woman said in her letter, altruistic. So they're nice people. They are searching. They all have good intentions. They're not thieves and charlatans in Scientology, although as the more they get into it, their integrity and rationality becomes compromised.
Okay, in what way? I mean, what do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, let me go back to where I was. Scientology was, at that time, fairly benign. It was, by and large, a mom-and-pop operation. But as I became embroiled, I took the first course, then I took another course. L. Ron Hubbard was very much still alive then and running this whole show. And he showed signs of progressively becoming really quite insane. And along the line here, I was in Scientology when it dawned on him he could get out of paying taxes by declaring this a religion. Okay. So in the middle of all this, he told people to start wearing clerical collars and to call themselves ministers. We were to call ourselves ministers and wear clerical collars. He threw together a 15-minute ordination course.
And this is for every member?
Oh, yeah. And all of this was so that the general public would perceive this group as a religion, as a real church. It was a farce, a total farce. We all laughed about it. It's still a farce, but they got away with it.